Okay, what we're going to have here is we're going to make some basic buttons. We've got a play button, which also works with a controller, so we can move up and down over that. At the moment, the buttons don't actually go anywhere when you click them, but we're also going to create a second canvas, which has about the developers, so some information on there. Once again, a different little back button, and that one will write some code that will turn that on. When we click the about button, when we click the back, it'll switch between the two. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. So what we've got now is we've got our wind scene and we've got our little walk the plank level. And what we're going to do is now create a front end main menu. So we're going to right click, create a new scene, and we're going to call this main menu. Why does that not happen? Create scene, there we go, main menu, and we're just going to open up that scene. Are going to add in the components. So we're going to first add in a button. And if we sort of zoom out, let's put this button on this white object, which is called a canvas. And so by default, we get a canvas, we get the button. Inside the button, it's got some text and an event system. What we want to do is replace this event system, the existing input module, with the new one, because we're using the new input system. And we need to change where this button is. So let's just pivot that so it's in the middle. And let's orientate those 0 and 0. And let's make it 600 wide and 100 pixels high. And now we're going to go into the text, make that 75, and this is going to be our play button. What we can also do, yep, centered, that's all good. Go onto the button, we can change what color it's going to be, so let's just say highlighted. We're going to make that a bit of a gray, a pressed color, make it red, and a selected color, let's have that also red. So now we'll just save that. And we're just going to now duplicate this button. So let's rename this one to button play. And we're going to have two other buttons. We're going to have button about and button exit. And so now we just need to move these around. So I'm just going to take my button play and I'm going to position that at not 50 up, 125 up. My button exit is going to go down 125. So we've got 3 buttons in a row. Now I'm going to change the text on my about button to be about, which is going to load up a different canvas with some information about the people. And our play is going to be, my exit, button exit is going to be our exit button. And we can sort of see they've got those colors on it. Now if we hit play, and we look at it in the preview mode, we've got different options and we can select them. What's also quite nice about this is that we can go and use a controller. Now by default, it's not selecting anything. So what we need to do is go into the event system and tell it which option is going to be the first selected. And now if we play this, first selected comes up, and if I use the little arrow keys, so I can use the D-pad to move around, and I can use the left and right arrow to navigate. And by default it will just take the fire, but I haven't actually enabled any content for any of these buttons yet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rename this canvas to be canvas main. And I'm going to make another canvas for our that's going to be loaded when we press the about button. So I'm just going to turn off the main canvas to start with, just to make things easier. Game object, UI, and I'm just going to add a canvas, and let's call this canvas about. Oh, one thing I forgot with the canvases, we want to change, which is really important, change constant pixel size to scale with screen size and set those to the dimensions you want them to be. I would recommend doing 1920 by 1080, which gives us full HD. And on the game window down here, scale that to be full HD and then drag it so you can see everything on the scene. Now you do need to do that for every canvas that you add, because constant pixel size, it will just keep it a fixed size. So if it's just not going to scale nicely. So if you make the resolution high, it's just going to be absolutely tiny on the screen. But if we scale with the screen size, it will dynamically update. Makes it a little bit nicer. Not as good if we've got lots of bitmap images, because they'll get pixelated. But if we stick to sort of vectors, it should be okay. So this one here, we're going to add 3 items onto this canvas. We're going to add some text. We're going to add an image. And we're going to add another button. And we're going to move those all into the middle as well. That text, let's make that 1000 wide and 100 high. And we're going to put about the developers on that text, and we're going to center it, and we'll make it 80, and we're just going to raise that up to, let's say, 350 pixels from the center. And we could make that maybe bold, stands out a little bit. The image, let's make that 400 by 400. Yep, that looks decent. And this button, let's drop it down, so it's going to be about minus 350. And let's make it 100 high and 600 wide. Yeah, we're looking pretty good there. And the text on that, change that to a back, and we'll make that 75 like the other buttons. And we could go and change these highlighted colors, these pressed colors. So we've got that color, we've got our pressed, nice sort of magenta, selected an orange. Let's get some pretty awful colors in here. Okay, so we've got that. And with our images, we can either find a sprite. So if we need to actually have some pictures loaded in. So let's go find one. Okay, so I've got a nice little kiwi here. Let's actually go back to our assets. Let's make a new folder and call it images. And we're just going to drag that kiwi into the images. And let's see if we can just drag it into, here's a sprite. No, because this is still a picture. We need to convert it into a sprite. I can never remember where this one is. There we go. We click on the picture and we're just going to turn it into a sprite, and we're going to apply that. And so now we should be able to just drag it onto that image, and we can see the kiwi is on here. Oh, why has it not gone onto that main picture? Because I've dragged it as a sub sprite of that. So let's just remove that object there, and we're going to drag that kiwi onto the sprite picture. So now we've got a nice little about the developers. That's cool. So what I'm going to do is actually, let's just modify this whole setting. So let's change the skybox to be a solid color, and I'm going to have a complete black background, and let's go and change that text at the top so it's not a grey into a nice white. Okay, so we can go hit play, we can test this. Here we've got our button. That works. I'm now going to go and turn off that canvas and then turn back on the main one. And that concludes basically creating a menu. The next video will cover basically how to go and basically get these buttons actually working. Remember, things will break, fail upwards.